Hi, Paul from Power Wash Store here, 855-351-9274. We're going to do a walk around of the Winston Glover short bed skid. He has a short bed water dragon skid here with a side toolbox, two 55-gallon tanks, 100-gallon tank, the ladder rack system, the side rail platform with electric reels, and an 8-gallon a minute Udor water dragon pressure washer. When we trip these units, we typically will take the supports for the ladder rack here and turn them upside down to save on height. When you get that, all you have to do is remove this bolt right here and flip these up so that your ladders won't slide off the ends, and or if you want to keep them down for clearance. On this particular unit, we have two 55-gallon tanks here. You can use them both for bleach or for bleach and a separate chemical. We have our 100-gallon water tank with a Hudson float valve that's hooked up directly to our garden hose reel. We have our bypass line for our pressure washer and two pickups for our proportioner for the fresh water. Coming around the side here, we have three full frame Titan electric reels with hose guides and stainless steel plumbing. On the first one, we have 100 feet of garden hose. On the second one, we have 250 feet of our agricultural hose used for the low pressure applicator system with our trigger gun on the end here. We have on the third one, we have 100 feet of the dragon tail armor coated pressure washer hose and hose guides on all three. On the back of this last one here for the pressure washer, we have a downstream chemical injector installed that will allow you to draw chemical for downstream usage, any detergent you might want to do if you want to do that. It is quick coupled onto the unit itself, so you can take it off if you like, just by using the quick connects, pushing the collar up and sliding the plug out. If you want to switch it around back the other way, again, lift the collar up, put the plug in, and lock it into place. Make sure that when you lock these into place that you pull the collar back so that they are securely fastened. We have a 7-gallon soap storage tank for the proportioner. We have an 11-gallon aluminum fuel tank for the gasoline for the pressure washer. We have a battery on board here that allows you to use the pressure washer, both start the pressure washer and power the 12-volt Gen 3 pump system that is in the side toolbox. Here we have our 8-gallon a minute at 3,500 psi water dragon belt drive pressure washer with the Udor pump, a platform over the pressure washer to allow you to gain this space back to use a surface cleaner or any other products that you might want to bring with you. We have our proportioner on the back of the box, accessible to the driver when it's in the truck. And then inside the toolbox here, we have integrated a Gen 3 12-volt system with the two switches and the reset breaker that allows you to, if it does trip a breaker, to do that. Now I'm going to explain the pump system first before I get into the proportioner. So inside the toolbox here, you see we have two Gen 3 6 gallon a minute at 70 psi VersaJet pumps with the new polypropylene heads that we get at Power Wash Store here. They're made for us by FlowJet, and we're very happy with the lifespan of these. They've been outlasting the standard VersaJets almost 3 to 1. Each one of these units is set up that you can switch the hose from one to the other, so if for some reason a pump goes down, you have a backup. You'll see this first pump here currently is plumbed to the quick connects on the back of the truck here that allows you to use that for transfer of chemical or anything else you might want to use it for. If you do need to change the lines, I'll show you real quick here. What you're going to do is you're going to grab this little blue clip here and you're going to pull it down. All right, when you pull it down, if you pull it down all the way, you'll see that I can't pull the barb out. What you have to do is actually take this clip and just push it back up a little bit, and you'll feel it kind of click up. You see how that's a little bit farther up? And then that'll allow me to pull the barb out. And then I can do the same thing. I can switch it over, same sides on each pump, in and out. And I can switch it to this pump if I want, just by changing the angle of the hose, or vice versa. So if I ever have a situation where the pump goes down, it allows me to change it out quickly. When you put the pump back in, again, if I have this pulled all the way down, you can actually see how that is offset to allow it in. So if I have this pulled down too far, I actually won't be able to get this pushed in. I have to actually push it up just a tiny bit to get the barb in, and then once it's in, I can push that back up to lock it into place. Here we have two three-way ball valves. And the first ball valve is for tank 1 and tank 2 of the 55-gallon tanks that we have here. That feeds into this second ball valve, which would be controlling these tanks, and this will be labeled, controlling the tanks, and when we turn it all the way down, that's water. And this goes to the proportioner, to the SH valve on the proportioner. So I can choose from the two different SH tanks just by turning this valve, and I can choose between the SH tank if it's going up, or the water if it's going down. So that allows you to use that in conjunction with the proportioner. Now on these valves, you may notice that they're really easy to turn. There's a small collar right here. If you're ever getting air into your system, occasionally these collars will loosen up. And what you need to do is actually just take this collar and you can turn it, either tighten it or loosen it to seal it up a little better. If it's too tight and really hard to turn, you can loosen it up a little bit. Or if it's really loose and you're getting air in, you just need to turn that and tighten it a little bit. Coming around to the hose reels here, I'm going to show you how we prime this system. You'll have a set of jumper hoses here that you can use either on the transfer pump or for bleeding. And what we want to do is when we prime the system, we want to connect this to here so we're not squirting everything right out. We can put this down on the ground into a bucket. This hose reel, the hose reel is fed from the 12-volt system. And this ball valve allows you to switch between going into the hose reel, or if you go forward and point out this way, to dump it to the ground. That allows us to prime or reprime the system without having to force all the air all the way out of the line. And with the 12-volt pumps, that's key because you need to get fluid to push the air out. It has a hard time pushing air. Air pushing fluid is very difficult, but fluid pushing air is very easy. So this takes all the pressure off the line and allows it to just free flow very simply. So we'll put the hose on here so it doesn't squirt anybody in the face. We're going to come back over here to the proportioner. And you can see with the proportioner label here, we have recommended mixes for different types of things, from delicate surfaces, vinyl siding, all the way up to heavy growth concrete or heavy growth on a tile roof. Different concentrations, and these percentages correspond to the numbers that you see here on this SH valve. So anywhere from 1, 2, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6%. We have our detergent valve, and then we have our water valve. We're going to start with all of these closed, and we're going to initially prime the system. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to make sure that I am on one of my SH tanks. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to start with the water, so I'm going to have it down. And I'm going to prime each one of these valves. So what I'll do is I'll turn on, in this case, this pump is working, the back pump is working my proportioner. I'm going to turn that pump on. We don't have the battery installed right now, so it's not running. And I'm going to let that pump run. I'm going to open the water valve all the way, and I'm going to let it run. And if you come over to the inside of the box here, because these hoses are clear, you will actually see it, and you can kind of see a little bubble floating around in there right now. I don't know if you can see that, but you'll actually see the air and the bubbles pull through, and it will start pulling liquid all the way through. When you see it coming as solid liquid, that line is primed to the proportioner. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to shut that off. We're going to open the detergent valve all the way. Again, do the same thing. Now the detergent valve is a very small valve, and it's not going to suck completely through. So you can actually look at the lines that run in up underneath here into the proportioner itself by looking up into the toolbox, and it's a lot easier when it's in the truck. But right here is your detergent valve, and you will look for the air bubbles coming out and make sure that it's flowing pure with your detergent. Then we're going to do the same thing on the back here. We're going to open the SH valve all the way and do the same thing. Now in this case I'm on water right now, so we're going to let it run through, pull all the water out of the line. Then I'm going to switch it back to my SH line, and I'm going to prime both my SH lines, leaving it run, prime line tank 1, make sure that it's pulling everything through clear, and then switch it over to tank 2, and then pulling everything clear. Once everything is primed, I'm going to shut it off here. I'm going to come back and I'm going to set my ratios. Now when everything is first primed, there's going to be a tiny bit of air in the system, and that should pull itself out within about the first 5 minutes or so of operating. just because of a little bit of bubbles. And as you use it more, once it's primed, it should remain primed unless you run out of a detergent or a chemical. So I want to start out, and I'm going to go clean the roof, and I want to have let's say a 3.5% mix. So I'm going to take my I'm going to open my water valve all the way. So with the little knob here, I'm going to turn it so that thing's pointing down. It's open all the way. So counterclockwise opens them, clockwise closes them. I'm going to set my detergent at anywhere between a 3 and 5, and that's going to vary based on what detergent you're actually using and how much suds or foam you actually want or grip. And then I'm going to take my SH valve and I'm going to turn it to 3.5 because that's the percentage of bleach I'm going to want in my mix. Now that percentage might vary a little bit based on different factors, but it's fairly accurate. And once you find the mix that you really like to use, that's going to be your determination. Coming back over to the reel here, I got to make sure that I turn this valve back so that I'm spraying from the reel. I can actually take my jumper hose off, pull my hose out, and then use this to spray. I can go up and I can spray up on the roof, do whatever I want to spray. When I'm done spraying, I want to wash and apply to the house as well. Once I do that, I'm going to come back over here and I want to change my mix. So I'm going to pull a little bit of hose out here to show you. So I want to change my ratio. So what I'm going to do is I want to use a 1.5% mix because it's just a light amount of mildew on it. So I'm going to turn this back to 1.5. I'm going to take my detergent valve and I'm going to open it all the way. And then I'm going to squeeze the trigger and I'm going to count to 3. 1001, 1002, 1003. I'm going to let off the trigger and then I'm going to turn my detergent back to my regular mix that I like to use. It might be 3. And I'm going to continue to spray. And what's going to happen is you're going to see what we call a marker. And you see where it says marker right on the sticker. What that is we put a big glob of soap into the line at that particular point of the mix when we're changing between the two different ratios. And when that works its way through the system and comes out of the line, you're going to see a big glob of soap on the ground at one point that allows you to serve as a marker that everything after that point is the new mix. So then from that point you can continue to spray on and continue to wash the surface like you want. Now at the end of the day we're going to want to flush this out. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the detergent off all the way. We're going to open the SH valve open all the way. And we're going to come over to the side of the toolbox here and we're going to go from our detergent or our SH valve and turn it back to water. At this point we'll begin to go ahead and spray, and we'll just spray until such a time that we notice that there's no more suds and stuff coming out. We can continue to rinse with this. You might want to run it through for a few minutes just to flush the whole system out. At that point, the only thing running through here is water, and we flush the system, and we flushed our line, and that'll help increase the lifespan of it. At the end of the day, when you're done then, all you have to do is turn your valves off and close it up. And roll up your hose, close your doors, shut your pumps off, and you're ready to go. So this is the Winston Glover Water Dragon Short Bed Skid from Power Wash Store, 855-351-9274, powerwashstore.com.